I-40 is one of those roads I've done so many times that it's like my hands just know what to do. Amarillo to Oklahoma City, then home. Same gas stations, same coffee that tastes like burnt dirt, same late-night emptiness that makes the whole highway feel like it's hanging in space. That night started like any other end-of-the-week drive. I'd wrapped up a job in Amarillo, tossed my tool bag into the bed of my old pickup, set my cooler on the passenger floor, and hit the road a little after 9. I always prefer getting home over wasting money on a motel, so nighttime highway runs have pretty much become my routine. Trucks smelled like drywall dust, and the gas station coffee I'd just bought. Country station low on the radio, cruise control a few clicks under the limit. The sky was clear and pitch black. Every now and then, a semi drifted past. Calm. Familiar. Not the kind of night that stands out. Then the van showed up. I caught the headlights in my mirror first. Normal enough. But instead of passing, the vehicle settled right behind me and stayed there. White cargo van. No windows in the back. No logo. Generic as they come, like something a contractor would drive. It wasn't exactly tailgating, but it was close enough that the inside of my cab lit up. I tapped my brakes once, a polite back off. It backed off for a second, then eased up to the exact same distance. I tried not to overthink it. It could be someone feeling uncomfortable driving alone at night, and also, people follow very closely without even realizing it. 5 minutes passed, then 10. I bumped my speed up. The van matched it. I slowed down. It slowed too, perfectly, like we were attached by a rope. That's when the calm started thinning out. I slid my mirror into night mode to cut the glare and caught a faint glimpse of 2 shapes in the front seats. Hard to see details, but it looked like the passenger was facing me through the rearview mirror. The clock hit 12:37 a.m. Something about that time dug into me. Maybe because it was too late for normal errands and too early for commuters. It was the hour where only truckers, insomniacs, and people up to no good are on the highway. 10 more miles. The van never moved an inch from my bumper. I started thinking like a guy doing a field check. Test 1, switch lanes. I flipped my blinker, eased into the right lane. The van followed, not around me, behind me. Test 2, drop speed way down. Again, they mirrored me. Test 3, speed up. Same result. At that point, the excuses dried up. This wasn't zoning out or impatience. This was intentional. A rest area was coming up, one of those dim ones with vending machines and bathrooms. I figured if I took the exit and the van kept going, maybe I'd misread the whole thing. If it followed me off, well, then I'd know. When the blue sign appeared, rest area 1 mile, my hands were already a little too tight on the wheel. I put my blinker on early. The van's blinker came on at the same moment. My stomach pulled tight. No other way to describe it. The ramp curved in and the lot opened up. Mostly empty except for a semi parked at the far end. Yellow lamps gave everything that washed out color like an old photograph. I rolled into a spot close to the building. Nose out. Kept the engine running. The van didn't park. It crept in behind me and stopped sideways in the lane in front of my truck, blocking the exit route. Then I noticed something I should have noticed earlier. The side door was already cracked open. It wasn't open much, just enough to see the dark inside and movement, a shape shifting in there. My headlights caught part of someone's hand wrapped around the interior handle. Nobody got out. Nobody yelled. They just watched me. That door gap felt like a mouth half open. I could see the driver clearly now. Hood up, face turned toward me. No confusion, no friendliness, just watching. The passenger leaned forward too, still angled at me. Behind the cracked door, a third figure was crouched with something long across his knees. Could have been a pipe, could have been a bat. Whatever it was, I didn't want a closer look. Everything in me said, go. I put the truck in reverse and eased back like I was going to circle the lot. The van pulled forward slightly, closing the angle. That tiny movement flipped a switch. "Nope," I said out loud. I jerked the wheel hard and hit the gas. The truck bounced over a painted island and thumped the curb. The wrench I keep between the seat and console slid forward and slammed into my foot. I threaded between the sleeping semi and a row of empty spaces and aimed for the exit. My rear tires skidded a bit, but caught again. In the mirror, just for a moment, I saw the full inside of the van. 3 men, all staring, none smiling. Back on the main highway, I called 911. My voice sounded weird, too calm, like someone else was talking. I gave the dispatcher what I remembered. White van, 3 men, Oklahoma plates but only part of the number, and what had just gone down. She didn't sound surprised at all. "We get calls like that sometimes," she said. "You were lucky. You shouldn't have stopped. Don't pull over if they catch up again." I kept checking the mirror for miles. Every set of headlights felt too close, too bright, too suspicious. I skipped my usual gas station because a white van was parked under the lights near the air pump. Probably innocent. I didn't go near it. A couple weeks later, I found a post on a trucker forum about travelers along I-40 getting boxed in at rest stops by white vans with cracked doors. No arrests, no clear details, just experiences that lined up a little too neatly with mine. Now I avoid empty rest stops completely. Busy exits only. If headlights sit behind me too long, I get off and let them pass. I keep that wrench closer than before. And if I see a white cargo van parked anywhere at night with the side door cracked open, even a couple inches, I don't stick around long enough to find out who's waiting behind it. I've spent most of my adult life driving toward trouble, not away from it. That sounds dramatic, but if you've worked EMS, you know what I mean. Lights, sirens, bad weather, bad roads. If something awful is happening, odds are I'm pointed at it with a jump bag in my hand. I've been a paramedic for nearly 2 decades, and if there's one thing I'm guilty of, it's this. Even off duty, I behave like I'm on shift. Highway, grocery store, parking lot. If something looks wrong, my brain snaps straight into work mode. That night on Highway 2 reminded me why that instinct can get you killed. I had just finished a 14-hour shift, the kind where you don't remember eating, but somehow your uniform still ends up stained with things you hope are coffee. It was cold, North Dakota cold, and the highway was nothing but 2 black lanes stretching forever between empty fields. I was replaying one of the calls from earlier, mentally rechecking every decision. We all say we leave work at work, but no medic really does. You take the people home with you, whether you want to or not. I was halfway through the stretch toward my place when a red flicker broke the darkness ahead. At first, I thought my eyes were tired, but as I came closer, it formed into something unmistakable. An emergency flare, burning low on the shoulder. My hazards were on before the thought even finished forming. That's muscle memory. You see a flare, you slow down. Someone needs help. Up ahead was a sedan, angled weirdly toward the ditch. All 4 doors open, driver door hanging wide like someone had jumped out fast. No hazard lights, no shattered glass, no smoke. Just silence and that hissing flare. I pulled a safe distance behind it, popped my trunk, and grabbed my small off-duty med kit. Just enough gear to stabilize someone until real backup arrived. As soon as I stepped into the cold, the wind cut right through me. It carried the smell of burning flare and frozen dirt. North Dakota in a nutshell. I approached the car, calling out, "EMS? Anyone injured?" Nothing answered except the wind. The interior dome light was on, shining down into an empty cabin. No driver, no passengers, no blood, no dropped phone or wallet. 2 empty coffee cups in the front, a fast food bag in the back, but not a single sign that anyone walked away, ran away, or crawled into the ditch. And the keys were still in the ignition. That was the first moment something tugged at me, an itch under the ribs. Still, protocol is protocol. I swept the ditch with my flashlight, checking for someone thrown from a vehicle. Nothing but frozen grass and an old soda bottle. I took a deep breath and called dispatch on the med line. "Off duty," I said. "Mile marker 87. Sedan with all doors open, flare burning. No sign of occupants." They ran the plate. "Not stolen, registered locally." "Troopers were en route, but far. Clear if you need to," dispatch said. "You're not required to stay." That's polite medic speak for, "This could be bad." I walked around the car again, slower this time. The more I looked, the stranger it felt. There was no damage, no skid marks, no reason for someone to deploy a flare, unless the flare wasn't the result of a problem, but the bait. I crouched to move the flare farther from the road, and that's when it clicked. It was positioned perfectly, dead in line with where headlights would naturally pull a driver's attention. Something we do all the time at real crash scenes. Someone out here knew exactly how to guide a good Samaritan off the road. That was the moment everything inside me shifted. I straightened up slowly, feeling the entire dark field pressing in. The tree line beyond the ditch was pitch black, solid, impenetrable. With my flashlight out, I realized I couldn't see anything beyond a narrow cone of light. If someone was standing 10 feet away, watching me, I wouldn't know, and I was lit up perfectly by my own headlights. I stepped backward, not fast, just enough to put distance between me and that open car with its open doors. "Dispatch," I said into the phone. "I'm clearing until officers get here." They acknowledged. I kept facing the fields, walking backward until I reached my car door. Only then did I unlock it and slip inside. As I pulled back onto the highway, I kept checking the mirror, expecting headlights to flare up behind me. Maybe another car, maybe that same sedan. What I saw was worse. Nothing. Total dark. I drove the next 10 miles with the kind of awareness you only get after a call that rattles you. Every silo looked like a person. Every shadow looked like movement. The next day, on shift, I asked one of the troopers if they'd figured out who owned the car or why the doors were open. He scrolled something on his tablet, then shook his head. "Car wasn't there when we arrived," he said. "No flare, no debris, nothing." "Tow truck?" I asked. "Nope. We checked. Nobody logged a tow." He hesitated, then added, "Sometimes people set things up to get folks like you to stop. You guys are predictable. You're trained to run toward emergencies, makes you easy targets." I thought about that flare, placed just right, like someone who understood EMS language, someone who knew how we think, how we react. For the first time in years, I felt stupid for stopping. At work, of course, that didn't change anything. We still roll up on single vehicle scenes all the time. We still jump out with bags ready, scanning the ground for victims. That's the job. But on personal drives? No, not anymore. Now, if I see a flare in a car with no damage and no people, I keep going and call it in. The guilt hits me every time. The instinct to stop is still there, beating in the ribs like a second pulse. But the memory of that silent sedan on Highway 2 hits harder. The empty seats, the open doors, the flare burning like a signal meant just for me. What stuck with me most wasn't the fear. It was the feeling that someone out there had rehearsed this. Someone who knew how to build a scene convincing enough to stop a medic on her drive home. Someone who wanted to see who would pull over. I'd had one of those days where everything stacked up. Home visits running late, notes half finished, conversations still echoing in my head. By the time I got onto I-5 heading south out of Sacramento, it was a little after 11 p.m. My only goal was to get home, shower, and not think for a while. Traffic was light, mostly semis, a couple stragglers like me heading home from late shifts. It's a stretch of highway I've driven 100 times and usually find comforting. About 10 minutes in, headlights appeared behind me, nothing unusual. They came up fast, so I expected them to pass in the left lane. Instead, they settled right on my bumper. "Okay," I muttered, "go around." I signaled and moved over to give them room. The car followed. They flashed their brights once, just long enough to be annoying. I signaled and moved back again. Same result, same distance. Another flash. I checked my speed. I wasn't too slow, wasn't drifting. Sometimes people get weird on the road, so I tried to brush it off, but my shoulders were creeping up toward my ears. I tried speeding up a little. The car sped up. I eased off. It eased off. My stomach got tight in a way I didn't want to acknowledge. I'd dealt with angry drivers before, but this felt like more than just someone in a bad mood. I switched lanes again. The car shadowed me perfectly. After the third time, the brights went on and stayed on longer than a normal flash. I grabbed my phone and hit the call button on the steering wheel. 911, what's your emergency? There's a car following me, I said, trying not to sound panicked. Flashing lights, tailgating, several miles now. The dispatcher asked for my location, direction, make of my car. I answered while keeping my eyes glued ahead. There was a pause, a strange one. Thankfully, I was still wearing my AirPod in one ear, so the sound wasn't coming out of the car speakers. Then, I need you to stay on the line. Don't pull over, and answer this carefully. Are you alone in the car right now? A chill crawled across the back of my neck. Yeah, I said. Of course. Okay, the driver behind you is one of our callers. He says he can see movement in your back seat. My mouth went dry. My first instinct was to whip around and look, but something about her tone kept me facing forward. Did you check your back seat before getting in? She asked. Earlier flashed through my mind. Juggling my bag, locking a client's front door, cursing because I dropped my keys, tossing everything into the back seat, and sliding in fast because the yard light was out. I hadn't checked anything. The headlights behind me flashed again, longer. Okay, the dispatcher said. Units are heading toward you. Keep driving. Don't look back suddenly. Don't pull over until I tell you. I focused hard on the road, forcing myself not to feel the weight of the empty space behind me. Exit coming up in about a mile, I said. That works, she said. You're going to pull onto the shoulder before the ramp. Stay somewhere lit, doors unlocked. When the trooper instructs you, you'll get out and walk toward his vehicle. Do not open the back door yourself. My hands were slick on the wheel. The exit sign came into view. My caller stayed behind me, perfectly aligned, brights pulsing like a warning. A minute later, red and blue lights appeared ahead. Relief hit me so hard I felt dizzy. Units are with you, the dispatcher said. Go ahead and pull over when you're ready. I signaled, moved to the shoulder, and stopped. The car behind me braked hard too. Okay, she said. Put it in park. On my count, unbuckle, get out, hands visible, and walk straight to the patrol car. Ready? 3, 2, 1. I stepped out into the cold air. A trooper motioned me forward. Behind me, another trooper approached my car, weapon at the ready. Ma'am, keep walking, the first trooper said. Then I heard shouting from behind me. Out of the car, now! Hands where I can see them! A scuffle followed, grunting, feet scraping asphalt, something metal clattering. I didn't turn around. The trooper in front of me didn't let me. It was only after they had him cuffed that I was allowed to see. They dragged him into the lights. A man pulled from my back seat. Long matted hair, filthy clothes. A box cutter still lying near where he'd hit the ground. He stared at the pavement like he didn't understand what was happening. The driver who'd been behind me stood near his own car, hands shaking. He looked at me with this exhausted, relieved expression, like he'd been terrified the entire time that I wouldn't understand what he was trying to tell me. At the station, I gave my statement. They told me the man had warrants in other counties. Squatting, weapon charges, attempted burglary. He refused to answer questions about how long he'd been in my car or what he was planning. Based on the timeline, he must have slipped in while I was walking out of my client's yard. One street lamp had been out for weeks. It only takes a second. The highway is loud. Cars passing mask small sounds. I never had a chance to hear him move. When they finally let me go, it was close to 3 a.m. I drove home with every interior light on, backseat checked 3 times before starting the engine. For weeks afterward, I checked the backseat every single time I got in, even in daylight, even in my gated parking lot with neighbors watching. If anyone asked, I joked about being paranoid. But the truth is, a part of me still hears that dispatcher's voice. The driver behind you says he can see movement in your backseat. And the worst part? Now, when I'm driving at night and someone stays behind me too long, I don't know which scenario to be afraid of. The car behind me, or the thing I haven't seen yet, sitting just out of view. I've always preferred empty highways to crowded cities. Give me a tank of gas, a camera bag, and a long stretch of road, and I'll take that over sidewalks any day. That's how I ended up on Route 93 one late afternoon in 2021, heading from Vegas toward Phoenix after a week of shooting desert landscapes. My hatchback was loaded with gear, batteries charging in the back seat, and tripods wedged near the door. The sun was dropping fast, the desert looking wide open and endless. Route 93 is mostly empty, and I've always liked that. Less traffic, more sky. I cracked the windows to let the warm air in and kept a podcast low, settling into that steady rhythm of cruise control and fading daylight. A few miles ahead, I spotted a cluster of motorcycles, 6 or 7 of them riding in a loose formation. Leather jackets, patches, chrome catching the sun. Nothing unusual for that stretch. They were going slower than me, so I signaled and pulled into the oncoming lane to pass. As I rolled alongside them, I felt several helmets turn in my direction. Visors down, no faces, just that collective tilt of attention. One lifted 2 fingers in a biker wave. Totally normal. I nodded back and continued on. Soon, they shrank in my rear view until they were just dots again. The sky dimmed to purple, then deep blue. I turned the podcast off to enjoy the quiet. 10 minutes later, I checked the mirror again. The dots were bigger. Much bigger. The group had closed the distance without me noticing. I eased off the gas slightly, thinking I'd let them pass if they wanted to go faster. But instead of passing, they rearranged themselves. 2 bikes slipped in behind me. 2 pulled up alongside, 1 on each side of my back doors. Another drifted ahead of me, matching my speed. In less than a minute, they'd boxed me in. I tried telling myself it was an accident, just a cluster reforming after a long, straight stretch. But every time I adjusted my speed, even by a little, they adjusted too. The biker on my left kept angling his helmet toward me, visor reflecting my car like a black mirror. It didn't feel random. It felt coordinated. I checked my phone for service, 1 bar flickering. I kept my eyes forward, hands at 10 and 2, forcing myself to breathe normally. I tapped the brakes once, lightly. The bike behind me tightened the gap. The one in front reduced speed too, matching me down to the mile per hour. They weren't pacing the highway. They were pacing me. The desert outside, which usually feels like freedom for miles, suddenly felt like a place you could scream and still not be heard. A few more miles passed like that. My heart wasn't pounding, but I could feel something coiling inside my chest, like a knot about to cinch tight. I needed to call 911. I hit the speaker button and tried. The call dropped before it rang. I tried again. This time it connected. 911, what's your emergency? I'm on Route 93 heading south, I said. There's a group of bikers around my car, like surrounding it, controlling my speed. The dispatcher asked for my location and car description, then said, "Okay, stay calm and stay on the line." Are they displaying weapons, making threats? No weapons, I said. They're just staying right next to me, really close. She told me not to pull onto a dark shoulder and to aim for the next populated exit. Units are patrolling that corridor, she said, but they're not close. I kept driving. The bikers kept their formation. The sky finally dropped into full darkness. The stars out, the road just a tunnel of headlights. Then the lead biker raised his arm and started circling it overhead, some kind of signal. Immediately, the whole formation shifted. 2 bikers on the right peeled off toward the shoulder. Then the others followed, 1 pair at a time, until the only lights around me were their red taillights disappearing down a barely visible dirt trail cutting into the desert. No wave, no gesture, no explanation, just gone. I stayed on the call until I reached the next gas station. A little island of fluorescent light in the middle of nowhere. I parked under a security camera and turned off the engine, letting the silence press in. The dispatcher asked if I felt safe. I said yes, even though my hands were still tight around the wheel. Inside, the clerk listened to the story as he rang up my water. He shrugged. We get biker clubs running this highway. Some are fine, some aren't. You never really know until something happens. I didn't love that answer. Later in my motel room, I transferred all my photos to my laptop. Landscapes, roadside shots, sunset variations. Then I found a frame I didn't remember taking. A blurred picture from inside my car. Bikers surrounding me on all sides. Headlights flaring in the dusk. One visor angled toward my window. My finger must have brushed the shutter without noticing. I stared at that image for a long time. I still drive desert highways, just not alone anymore. And I don't assume an open road means open freedom. Now, whenever a group of bikers appears in my mirror, I remember that boxed-in stretch of Route 93 and how quickly people can decide you're part of their formation. If I ever see a group closing around me again, I won't wait to see what their signals mean. I was driving home from campus for the weekend, hours later than I meant to. My study group dragged on, and by the time I got on the highway, it was already close to 9 p.m. 5 hours of freeway, horror stories, and caffeine. I'd done it 100 times. By midnight, the road had that strange emptiness to it. Not dead, just spaced out. A semi here, a pair of headlights 10 seconds behind you, then nothing again. I kept telling myself I'd stop at the next rest area, use the bathroom, stretch, then power through the rest of the drive. Around 1 a.m., a blue sign finally showed up. Rest area, 1 mile. When I pulled in, it looked fine. Not crowded, not deserted. A couple semis, a minivan, and one dark sedan parked near the building. Bathroom lights buzzing under those pale fluorescent fixtures. I remember thinking, safe enough. I parked under a light, grabbed my phone, locked the doors, and headed inside. The women's bathroom was exactly what you'd expect. Harsh lighting, white tile, long echoes. Empty. I picked the middle stall, shut the door, and let myself breathe for a second. Then the outer bathroom door creaked open. Light footsteps came in and stopped, not at the sinks, not at the stalls, just right outside mine. I waited for the latch on another stall to click. Nothing. Whoever it was stood completely still. I cleared my throat, hoping the noise would make the person move along. Instead, a woman's voice, soft, maybe early 30s, said, "Hey, sorry, I dropped something. Can you check if it rolled under?" It sounded embarrassed enough that my guard didn't go up right away. I looked down. Nothing. Just tile and the tips of a pair of sneakers. "I don't see anything," I said. A beat of silence. Then the same voice, quieter now, like she was leaning in closer. "Are you sure? It's really important. Could you check again?" Something about the tone changed. The words were the same, but the feeling wasn't. It wasn't embarrassed anymore. It sounded focused. Before I decided how to answer, 2 hands slid under my stall door, flat on the tile, fingers spread, nails long and chipped. The hands reached in far enough that they would have closed around my ankles if I hadn't reacted. I yanked my feet up onto the toilet seat and pressed my back against the wall. My breath went sharp in my throat. The hands swept from side to side, searching, like someone feeling for a dropped wallet. Then they paused and curled into fists. Light taps hit the tile, frustrated. Then the woman said, sharper this time, "Come on, I saw you come in here." That was the moment the fear hit all at once. I forced out the first lie that came to mind. "My boyfriend's outside," I said, trying to sound calm. "He's waiting right at the door." The hands froze. Then they withdrew, slowly, sliding back under the divider until they disappeared entirely. A few seconds later, I heard steps moving toward the bathroom exit. The door creaked, opened a little, then didn't close all the way. She might have left. She might have just stepped to the side and was waiting. I didn't dare move. I unlocked my phone with my thumb shaking and dialed 911. I whispered, "I'm at a rest stop on I-5 in Washington. A woman just tried to grab me under the stall door. I don't know if she's still here." The dispatcher asked me to confirm the location twice, told me to stay in the stall, keep the door locked, and not respond to anyone except uniformed officers. "Units are close," she said. "Stay on the line." I sat there in absolute silence, feet pulled up, listening for anything. Breathing, shoes, anything at all. But the bathroom stayed completely quiet. Almost too quiet. The kind where your own heartbeat feels loud. Every time the door creaked even a millimeter, my whole body tensed. I couldn't tell if the woman was gone or inches from the stalls. After what felt like forever, there was a loud, firm bang on the outer door. "State Patrol." A second voice echoed it. "State Patrol. Announce yourself if you're inside." I cracked the door open and saw 2 troopers in full uniform. They motioned for me to come out. My legs barely worked, but I followed them toward the exit. Outside, the lot looked exactly the same, except the dark sedan that had been parked near my car was gone. No cameras caught anything. No plate numbers, no grainy footage of the bathroom door. One trooper checked my car before letting me get in. Another took my statement right there under the buzzing lights. The thought of those hands actually closing around me made my stomach twist. I finished the drive home, wired and exhausted. I only stopped again at a huge travel plaza full of truckers and families. That was almost a year ago. I still won't use a rest stop bathroom alone after dark. I plan my drives around big stations now, bright lights, lots of people. And I lock the bathroom door in my apartment every single time, even if my roommate's home. But the part that stuck with me most wasn't the hands. It was the voice. Soft, polite, embarrassed, perfectly normal. "Hey, I dropped something. Can you check?" I hear someone say a version of that now, anywhere, and my whole body reacts before my brain does. Because now I know, sometimes the scariest things don't start with screaming. Sometimes they start with a whisper under a fluorescent light. If any part of you thought the headlights, van doors, or that rest stop whisper were the worst of it, smash that like button, subscribe for more late night dread, and tell me which moment had you gripping your seat. And if you think highways feel dangerous, wait until you see what everyday neighbors are capable of. Click now to watch 4 scary neighbor horror stories, because sometimes the people living closest are the ones you should worry about most. Thanks for watching. Stay alert, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next nightmare.